All 6 movies Leonard Nimoy directed, ranked. Leonard Nimoy will always be best remembered for his legendary portrayal of Spock in Star Trek. But his creative brilliance extended far beyond the Vulcan's stoic logic. Nimoy was a multi-talented artist, actor, photographer, poet, and, crucially, a director. His directing career was surprisingly versatile, spanning Star Trek blockbusters, hit comedies, and character-driven dramas. Across 6 films, Nimoy displayed a deep understanding of storytelling, emotion, and humanity. Here's every movie he directed, ranked from good to truly great. 6. Holy Matrimony 1994. Nimoy's final directorial effort. Holy Matrimony was a quirky romantic comedy that failed to find its audience. The premise is undeniably strange. A young woman, Patricia Arquette, hiding out in an Amish-like community, ends up married to a 12-year-old boy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, after his brother dies. It's meant to be comedic and ironic, but the concept treads an uncomfortable line between edgy and awkward. Nimoy's direction tries to balance heart and humor, but the story's moral ambiguity and tonal inconsistency make it tough to pull off. Still, his eye for character work shines, especially in the performances. Gordon-Levitt delivers one of his earliest standout roles, and Arquette manages to humanize a character who could easily have been unsympathetic. While Holy Matrimony was a critical and commercial misfire, it's not devoid of charm. It simply lacked the clarity and emotional anchor that Nimoy mastered in his earlier films. 5. The Good Mother 1988. In the late 1980s, Nimoy turned away from science fiction to explore human relationships with The Good Mother, a quiet, emotional drama starring Diane Keaton and Liam Neeson. The story revolves around a divorced woman who loses custody of her daughter after her new relationship leads to accusations of sexual impropriety. It's a mature, challenging story about love, parenting, and societal judgment. Nimoy approaches the material with sensitivity, avoiding melodrama and focusing instead on the emotional realism of Keaton's character. The film is intimate and brave, with restrained performances that reveal his skill as an actor's director. Unfortunately, audiences expecting another Star Trek adventure or a mainstream hit didn't know what to make of it. The Good Mother was largely overlooked, but it's one of Nimoy's most thoughtful and compassionate works, a serious, adult film that showed he could handle delicate themes with grace. 4. Funny About Love 1990. After 2 intense dramas, Nimoy returned to comedy with Funny About Love, starring Gene Wilder as a cartoonist struggling with infertility and his desire for fatherhood. The film explores the emotional toll of love, marriage, and the longing to start a family. While the movie didn't set the box office on fire, it has a warmth and tenderness that reflect Nimoy's signature directorial style. He was fascinated by flawed people trying to do right by their hearts, and Wilder's soulful performance captures that perfectly. The humor is bittersweet, and the story occasionally drifts into formulaic territory, but Nimoy keeps it anchored in genuine feeling. What's most interesting about Funny About Love is how it reveals Nimoy's recurring fascination with identity and purpose, a theme that ran through his acting and directing alike. Whether it's a Vulcan seeking humanity or a man yearning for fatherhood, Nimoy was always exploring what it means to be complete. 3. Star Trek 3. The Search for Spock 1984. Leonard Nimoy's directorial debut could not have carried a higher expectations. After the emotional gut punch of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Nimoy stepped behind the camera to bring Spock back from the dead, literally. The result was Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, a heartfelt and surprisingly spiritual film that balances sci-fi adventure with deep emotional resonance. As a first-time director, Nimoy showed a remarkable sense of pacing and tone. He infused the story with reverence, not just for Spock's resurrection but for the bonds between the Enterprise crew. The moment Kirk sacrifices the Enterprise to save his friend remains one of the most iconic in the franchise. Critics at the time were divided, calling it slower than Wrath of Khan. But The Search for Spock has aged beautifully. It's not about action, it's about loyalty, grief, and rebirth. In bringing Spock back, Nimoy gave fans, and himself, a deeply personal story of renewal that still resonates today. 2. Star Trek 4. The Voyage Home 1986. Nimoy's second Star Trek film remains one of the most beloved entries in the franchise. Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, often nicknamed The One with the Whales, brought humor and environmental awareness to the series in a way that felt both entertaining and sincere. Sending the crew of the Enterprise back to 1980s San Francisco to save Earth by rescuing humpback whales could have easily veered into absurdity, but Nimoy's direction made it pure magic. He leaned into the fish out of water comedy while keeping the characters grounded and endearing. William Shatner's Kirk trying to